In a world where the news gets twisted, Jon and Tom stand tall, never wished it. MAGA hats on, they take the stage. With laughter and facts, they break the cage. Unsanctioned voices feel less and bold, turning the tide, watch the truth unfold. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining light. Oh, debating the nonsense of the woke parade. With every punchline, conservative trade, they tackle the issues with humor and wit. In Unsanctioned America, they won't quit. So tune in tight, let the laughter ignite, as Jon and Tom clash through the political night. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining light. So tune in tight, let the laughter ignite, as Jon and Tom clash through the political night. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining light. Oh, together they rise, wear their pride like a crown. In Unsanctioned America, never backing down. Unsanctioned America, hear their call. With a duo on fire, they'll never fall. From the heart of the right, they bring the fight, lasting through the night, shining light. Oh, shining light.
Raise the alarms.
The opening act, grabbing headlines for all the wrong reasons. A comedian who offered unfunny, racist, cringeworthy jokes.
Basically calling Puerto Ricans trash.
The most repulsive racial jokes about Latinos.
Disgusting and hateful.
So incredibly crude.
Frankly, just too X-rated to play here.
Extremely vile so-called jokes.
Extremely vile so-called jokes. She name-checked my comedy album from the 90s. Did I really? I don't know who's AI, me or that guy. Now, obviously, in retrospect, having a roast comedian come to a political rally a week before Election Day and roasting a key voting demographic, probably not the best decision by the campaign politically. But to be fair, the guy's really just doing what he does. I mean, here he is at the Tom Brady roast a few months ago.
The great Jeff Ross, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff is so Jewish, he only watches football for the coin toss. Gronk, you look like the Nazi that kept burning himself on the ovens. Kevin is so small that when his ancestors picked cotton, they called it deadlifting.
Yes, yes, of course. Terrible, boo, yes. There's something wrong with me. I find that guy very funny. So, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, bringing him to a rally and have him not do roast jokes, that'd be like bringing Beyonce to a rally and not have... Oh.
Welcome to Unsanctioned.
Start with a virus, import it into America, talk about it nonstop, call some governors, nod them, that's your guys. Put patients into nursing homes, kill thousands, blame the president, keep blaming, blame some more, lock down small business, kill the economy, push mail-in voting, stoke a race war, call for riots, pick a candidate, no, not her, Yeah, that's more like it. Lock him in his basement. Shield him from the press. Don't cover this. Don't cover this. Don't cover this. Keep doing that. Ignore the economic recovery. Downplay the world peace. Pump the polls. Pump, pump. Don't stop pumping. Install your software in swing states. That was fast. Take control of polling stations. Call off the election when you're losing. Kick everyone out. Pull out all the extra ballots. Get the software to do its thing. Get the media to say it's over. Call the big tech guys. Ban anyone who notices. Act like the whole thing never happened. Stealing the most powerful republic in the world. It's that easy.
Yep, it's that easy, John.
Wow. It's that easy. It's that easy. You're right. And that's pretty much what we witnessed. That's what we can all acknowledge has been going on. You know, truth comes to light at some point, right? And that's really what's happening here. Truth has been coming to light. And man, it's really happening big time right now. And that's why you see all these people, whether they admit it or not, just going in waves to the Trump team, right, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we seen it tonight. We were out there waving flags and holding signs for Trump on the corner of Narcoossee and 192 here in St. Cloud. And everybody was honking their horn. I think we only got maybe 3 middle fingers and one crazy liberal who was leaning out the window yelling obscenities. But that was it. I mean, everybody else fully on board. And I think you see it everywhere, John. Everywhere in media and on social media, you see it. Everybody's on board with President Trump. I find it hard to believe that he would be behind in any way whatsoever. And if they announce her as the winner on Wednesday, I don't believe it.
I find it hard that anybody can actually believe it. Here's the thing. We see it on the street, right? When we're on the street, when you're talking to people, the only people that we see now carrying the banner of the Democrats is the crazy people who are trying to kick over Trump signs, or people losing their minds, crazy people screaming at kids. It's always like some kind of crazy, right? Yeah. They talk, it's always people making this huge hyperbolic statements like, oh, Trump is a Nazi. It's never somebody normal.
No.
You never see like normal people be like, oh, I'm supporting the Democrats. And the Democrats because they make the economy better, or the economy is because I care about my family, or, it's about, these kitchen table. I don't know. It's always got to be like, no, I'm a man. I can have a baby if I want to type of argument. And, I think that the American people have had enough of that fantasy land.
And I think that's what we've seen, John. We've seen the Democrats make their case, and their case is all about abortion this time around. They have
it's about abortion. Yeah, that's it.
Nothing when it comes to the economy.
They thought they were going to win on abortion. Yes, you're 100% right. They thought they were going to win on abortion. They tried the whole transgender ideology, and they saw that was like a short momentary spike. And then everybody started saying, "Come on, you guys are crazy." Yeah. Then like boys playing girl sports, we're gonna double down on this. No, that kind of went more sputtered out, right?
Epic fail.
Yeah, and then they were like, "Oh, abortion. Let's go back to the 1980s, and let's do abortion, where abortion was the number one thing that separated Republicans and Democrats." And then they're realizing, the abortion argument, we like it with the states. People like it having the abortion argument at the state level, unless you're a crazy blue-haired man who thinks he can have an abortion himself. Then you're like, for you, that's the biggest issue in the world, right? So I don't know. Well, welcome to another episode of Unsanctioned America, and this episode is jam-packed. We don't have a ton of time to talk about everything because we try to fit in so much into the show. Yeah. We just have a crazy amount of things. There's all kinds of craziness happening just before the election. We're going to talk about it. And here's what we're going to talk about this evening. Number one, are Puerto Ricans trash, or do Dems just have a trashy memory? I think that Jon Stewart reminded us. We're going to see other reminders in the show, right? Absolutely. They're full of it. Yep. Instructions on stealing the election. We just saw that video. And we're going to talk about stories that impact our election integrity. Trump breaks Joe Rogan. Let me say that clearly. He absolutely broke it. He did a 3-hour marathon. We'll talk about that show. And then he went and broke Madison Square Garden. Yeah. Right? Dr. Phil prescribes Trump for the United States of America. Yeah. Was Trump rally really like Hitler in 1939? Or was Tony right, at the end of the day? Harris rally was a big dud as her paid circus animals don't perform. Trump breaking with tradition for the better while setting up transition team. Fauci is the real plague on the world. I think that we can all agree on that.
Absolutely.
Harris wins Pennsylvania, according to a mistaken graphic 9 days before the race. Kids read better with tampons, according to the Harris campaign team. Tampons make all the difference. Who would have known?
Oh, my God.
And Georgia Dems want boxes unwatched. What the heck? Votes set ablaze. Oregon, 2,500 fraudulent registrations found in Pennsylvania. And Philly firefighters turned their hose on the Democrat incumbent by endorsing the Republican Senate candidate in there. And that's a pretty big rarity when a union from a blue state, right, which is now a swing state, endorses the Republican. That's huge.
Yes.
And more on this episode of Unsanctioned America with Jon and Tom. This is episode 248, October 30, 2024. Please, before we even get into it, like, subscribe, follow. Now we're on the old podcast channel, so you can find us on iTunes, you can find us on iHeart America, you can find us on Spotify. So check us out there. Listen to us in the car. Again, Unsanctioned America with school board member John Arguello, that's me, and my great friend over here, Citizen Tom Lord. We're going to get right down to business. We're going to say a quick prayer, and then we're going to get right down to the show. Lord, we are truly grateful. We're grateful to be alive at a time such as this where we can use our voices to do our part in this hugely impactful process, not just for the United States, but for the entire world. The entire world is watching as we have our elections. The prosperity and the peace that the United States can bring to the world is something that all humans, all of humanity depend on for good, as a force of good. And we pray, Lord, that you allow these elections to be fair so that the American people stand by whoever wins that election and can make this country what it once was, a place where people come to dream, where people dream about, and where people follow the rule of law and allow people to achieve their true potential. And we hope and pray, Lord, that makes you happy and that we can play our part as on a daily basis, inspire the Americans out there and take part in this election, especially the Christians who have a duty, biblical duty, to take part in this process. In your son's name, Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
All right, let's get down to it, Tom. What do we got?
Let's get into it. All right, John. So starting off, we did mention about the Joe Rogan podcast. Most watched episode of his podcast, 30 million plus views of this podcast. And Joe Rogan went ahead and gave his views and his thoughts on how this went with President Trump. Here it is, John.
Were you at all nervous for Trump?
I was definitely hyped up. I was excited because I wanted to. There's a lot of questions I need to answer.
Did you feel pressure?
No.
Real quick warning: there are some curses during this talk, so if you have children, please don't have them in the room watching this.
No, not pressure.
Pressure mean like make sure you covered everything you want to cover.
No. Just like I knew what was important.
Did you
not
prepare for
necessarily.
it?
Yeah.
Did you ask him why he was so pro-vaccine?
No, I didn't. But I also wanted to be rigid because there was a moment when he brought up the polio vaccine. I was like, oh, I don't want to correct him. I don't want to show like when have you ever seen the chart of when polio actually dropped off when the vaccine was introduced?
I referenced it all the time. It's all bullshit. Yeah,
that's a rough one. When you look at the actual, like, there's a bunch of them. Measles is another one, and you look at what actually happened.
Vaccine talk as a
exactly, and I don't want to get involved in a podcast where there's a lot of shit I want to get to. I want to know what the fuck is in the JFK files.
Did you?
That's what we talked about.
What did he say? I didn't see that part because I've seen.
He said there's a lot of people that are still alive, and I said, okay, so that's why you wouldn't release it because some of the people that are going to be implicated are still alive. So what that's saying to me is that the government
put them in jail.
Everybody knows. But I said that, and he kind of like he danced a little.
The politician came out.
No, he's real good at you ask him a question, and he starts to answer it, but then he takes you on a totally different route.
The weave.
But you got to bring him back in, but you got to be respectful. So it's like I knew that's the way he does it, but I'm like I understand what you're doing, sir. But let's get it back back to what I was asking you.
Yeah, you did that. You did that a couple
I
times.
was like, I want to know what that first fucking day is like, and I don't think I really got that answer out of him.
I don't think he remembers.
I think he does. What I'm talking about is like this feeling of now you have to appoint 10,000 people, and now you have to figure out how this machine works when you've never governed at all, and they don't show you any of that when you're running for president. It's not like a training program. Like, hey, Brendan, you might be president, so we're going to show you this is how deals get made.
I like what he said about John Bolton. He said, yeah, he's a whack job, but you know what was cool about him? When I went to fucking Iran and I had John Bolton, they all knew he was he was ready to drop bombs. He's called him a whack job, but he had his purpose.
That kind of mindset. You know, the problem with the Trump stuff is just that the people look at the inflammatory things he says, the crazy shit, and they define him by that. But you also have to remember this is a very bizarre combination of an entertainer and a businessman. So it's an entertainer that, like, he's like a comedian, man. He says funny shit. He does it all the time.
Very funny.
He's always,
Constantly
when he makes fun
roasting.
of Biden.
Constantly roasting.
He's funny,
He's
man.
New York. He's very New York.
I
He's
miss
a
the
New
fact
Yorker.
that the nicknames he gives to people that they have to be
Tampon
funny.
Tim.
Yeah, if they weren't, if it wasn't funny, he wouldn't use it. Like Tampon Tim.
Yeah,
But my
part of
point
his
is,
genius is seeing where you're
people don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
And they want to pretend that all these other people are somehow or another like morally better because you don't get to see the real them. Like, I don't buy that. I don't think you should either. I don't think that's how people really are. I think, and when you see over and over and over and over again the media manipulating things and lying about things to make him seem way worse than he
Call
is,
him Hitler?
you should be suspicious.
Yeah, you should be suspicious. And, you know, President Trump did discuss that during the podcast. He did say that he does get into that weaving where he weaves a story, you know what I mean? And he said he does it at rallies. He just does it all the time. It's natural for him. So,
you know, that show, just the show itself seems like it's so good, right? I cannot wait to listen to it. I'm going to have to listen to it tonight, I think.
yeah, I am on
of it.
2 hours and 30 minutes of the 3 hours, and it's really good, John, really good.
You know, you can listen to it. He's good. So Joe Rogan, imagine how good is Trump that just the retelling of the podcast that he appeared on is more interesting than Harris's greatest day. You know, I mean, that's the disparity between these two people. You know, hey, listen, thank you everyone for watching. We have a whole bunch of people watching tonight on all different channels. We spread out the channels in different places, and it's like we have a whole bunch of viewers right now. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate you having even people like you, Josh, who don't like us. All right. So this is a great thing. But the bottom line is there's an interest, an everyday man interest that people have in Trump that they have in no one else. Because he hit it right. He hit the nail on the head. And there's a couple of different parts to this, right? Number one is he's right. Trump is a combination of things. He's a combination of businessman, a combination of entertainer. We've seen that throughout his career. He makes money being an entertainer, right? And then he's an entertainer making money. That's a very rare combination of talents. We can see it like The Apprentice, whether it's The Art of the Deal. The guy will write a book. He makes millions of dollars. He makes things, and then he tells you about it. And just he's such a character that can make money doing it. It's a very, very rare. All right. The other thing is there's nobody who wants to watch Harris talk for 3 hours, right? There's nobody in their right mind who would want to watch Harris talk for 3 hours. And that tells you everything about this election. Okay. So interesting. I'm going to watch it. Go and watch Joe Rogan. Watch this episode. I think it was 30 minutes was the last that I saw. That's a gigantic number. That's a gigantic number, and what a gigantic success! And then Vance is on today, so who knows when they're going to release that show? That should be good too, because I did see Vance's. Vance was on what show was he on that he was great on? He sat on somebody's podcast, and he was great. It might have been Joe's that they released.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, John. It is a fascinating podcast. It doesn't stop. You know, President Trump had said on the podcast that he's been going nonstop for 57 days. He has not taken a day off. He's just been going nonstop, and I think we've all seen that. the conversation was fascinating. It doesn't get boring whatsoever, and I suggest that everybody listen to it. Everybody get a chance to listen to it, because this is the difference. The true difference between President Trump and Kamala Harris is that he can have a 3-hour conversation with somebody. It's not going to be boring. But you can't say the same thing for Kamala Harris, and Joe Rogan will tell you why, because they had to scrap the sit-down that was planned for Kamala Harris, and we had talked about this on a previous show, John, that she was planning to go on Joe Rogan, but they had to scrap it because her campaign told him she only wanted to do 1 hour. 1 hour. And it's not only that, John, but this is Rogan's tweet where he talks about, he says, also, for the record, the Harris campaign has not passed on doing the podcast. They offered a date for Tuesday, but I would have had to travel to her, and they only wanted to do an hour. I strongly feel the best way to do it is in the studio in Austin. My sincere wish is to just have a nice conversation and get to know her as a human being. I really hope we can make it happen. This says it all, John. She wanted to do it in a safe space, away from his studio, and she only wanted to do 1 hour. Unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thank you, Carlos. Appreciate it. So listen, nobody, like I said, nobody's going to want to sit down to her, right? But here's the thing: she's a vice president that has no substance. She's as profound as a pair of Crocs. There's nothing to her. So it's just like there's nothing to her whatsoever. But Trump, when Trump talks about JFK, the JFK assassination, everybody, like the whole world is going to be like, this is who I want to hear talk about it, right? This is who I want to hear talk about it. Oh, I took John Bolton to Iran and scared the crap out of these Persians with John Bolton next to me because he's a maniac. That's a story that you want to hear. And, so, I mean, you can never take away. And listen, that did not work on me when Trump came down that escalator. I was not a Trump supporter. I was hoping a different candidate won. And then at that debate where it was him against those 16, and then he just demolished every one of them, that's when I became a Trump fan. I was like, okay, this guy's going to be for real. This guy's not for real politically. I mean, he's going to be an honest guy who's going to tell you what's up. And that will go for all day long. Democrats will go for, at least some Democrats, right? The ones that don't know which bathroom to use don't like that kind of honesty. But I do. So, and I think the most of Americans do.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Well, John, the other thing I'd have to tell people, though, is if you want to watch the Joe Rogan podcast with Donald Trump, don't search for it on YouTube. Okay?
On Google?
Yeah. They had a problem with the YouTube search, and this is coming as J.D. Vance is going to do the podcast himself. He said that it's facing an issue. If you search for it on YouTube's platform, you're not going to find it right away. I tried it myself. It doesn't come right up. You get other things, discussing Joe Rogan and President Trump, but you don't get the actual podcast. You can't actually view it. Google says it is addressing this issue, but some fans, this article is saying, without evidence. What without evidence? Come on. The video sharing site has intentionally suppressed the interview. Without evidence, what evidence more do you need than the fact that you can search for it and you won't find it? And who else does that happen to?
On the button that makes this stuff happen, right? We were taken down from Facebook in the middle of a show before.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just, you know what? This just happens.
Multiple times.
Yeah. It's BS. These guys control it. Who knows what the algorithm is? It's just, and maybe it's not a human being listening to Unsanctioned, but you know what? They have an algorithm, and if you say something too many times, and maybe they throw you off. You just never know what it is. But clearly, there's a problem that is singling out Joe Rogan and putting him down, and it's really not even Rogan; it's Trump.
Yeah.
All right. So, it's amazing that we're still allowing this to happen. Media is a very tricky thing, right? You have newspapers that are responsible for what is said. And then you have organizations like Facebook that are not responsible for the things that are said. But if you're not responsible for the things that are said, then you shouldn't be allowed to put your finger on the scale so that the things that people are saying are heard over another group of people, so that you can control the narrative, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, I think this is the reason why we've seen X become the #1 platform right now, is because of the freedom that X gives its users and the freedom to search for information and find it. which you can't say for some of these other media platforms. And for Facebook, you know, we've seen Zuckerberg start to walk back some of this stuff. We haven't been dropped on Facebook in a long time. He did come out, I think we talked about it on a previous show where he came out and said that he was wrong for some of the things he did in the past elections. So,
I don't know that he said that he was wrong. I think that he said that he kind of regrets it happening.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like when you get into an argument with your spouse, but they don't want to admit that you're right about something. You know, he's like to the whole world, he's showing what kind of spouse he is when he won't acknowledge the fact that he basically violated everyone's First Amendment right. You know, I mean, that's really what he did.
Well, I think that's more of a fact that he sees that how popular X is right now, and he's just like, oh, what happened to my Facebook? What happened to my Instagram? Well,
everybody has these all these social media companies, they're going to have these pressures, right? Yeah. You have these pressures from other social medias that are new ones that are coming up, right? And so they all do. It's just like YouTube has Rumble, right? If Rumble begins to, you know, I mean, you have all of these problems that are pretty drastic, you know, and you have these opposition forces. So now they don't think, obviously, if they thought that Kamala Harris was going to win, he would be silencing every show right now.
Yeah.
But they don't know. They feel insecure in this in a Democratic win. So now he's got to pull back because now everybody's going to have to pay, you know, and be held accountable for their actions during the last 4 years.
Absolutely. Well, John, let's talk about President Trump's gigantic, huge sellout of Madison Square Garden. The media only wants to talk about that joke that Tony Hinchcliffe made about Puerto Rico, and we're going to get to that. Don't worry, we're going to get to that. But that's all they want to talk about. Well, let's talk about the fact that he sold out Madison Square Garden. Look at this line to get in that morning.
Supposedly there were 10,000 people that were outside of the venue. The place was jam-packed, more than 20,000 people, and then they had $10,000 from what I've heard reported. It's crazy.
Wow. And this just goes on and on. I mean, we could let this play forever, and it would just go on and on. Just unbelievable number of people. These are not bust-in people. These are people that live in that area.
Yeah, they're not getting paid $17 an hour by a campaign to be there.
No, they're not.
Unlike Harris's people.
Yeah, we have some of them here in Florida right now knocking on doors. You know, it's unbelievable. But and they're knocking on doors for Amendment 3. But we'll talk about that on the Florida show. But yeah, this was the inside of Madison Square Garden. This is the way it looked, and we've seen sports at Madison Square Garden not sell out like this. We've seen other events happen at Madison Square Garden and not sell out like this. President Trump, and he had all the usual names that you would suspect to be there, including Hulk Hogan was there. He did a speech. A number of other people, but one of the most surprising thing to a lot of people, not so much surprising to me, because I've heard the way this man has talked before, and it kind of gave me the hint that he was on this wavelength. You said you were a bit surprised that Dr. Phil came out and supported President Trump and was here at the rally. And here's a little bit of Dr. Phil at the rally.
You guys look just like you do when I'm on TV. Except for you, you look a little different. Listen, I love you guys for caring enough about the United States of America to come out here tonight. Thank you so much for caring enough to come out here tonight. I have to tell you, I love this country. I do. I love this country. I stand up when our flag goes by. I put my hand over my heart when they play our national anthem. And I'm so proud to see so many people take time out of their day to come out here and stand up for this country. And strangely enough, I'm not here just to stand up for Donald J. Trump. Lord knows he doesn't need me to stand up for him. He's tough as an old army boot. He's got lots of enemies, different groups that are scared, and between them, they have impeached him, indicted him, raided him, railroaded him, shot him, and sued him. And where is he? He is still standing. He just keeps on coming because he loves this country too. I can be honest and say, I can be honest because we have free speech in America. I can be honest and say I don't like or agree everything that Donald J. Trump does or says. I mean, come on. Nobody agrees with everything or likes everything somebody else says or does, right? No human is perfect. We don't strive for perfection, we strive for excellence. But you don't have to love everything about someone in order to love them. And the last thing he needs is some celebrity endorsement. What the hell do I know? I know I'm no celebrity to begin with. And celebrities don't know anything about policies or politics. So,
anyway, you know, Dr. Phil went on for 16 minutes, John. He went on for 16 minutes, so we just clipped the first part of it. But, yeah.
Well, I love how he started it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, he said, I love my country. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for showing that you love your country. That's what it's all about. These are not people. These are not. And this is what I'm saying. This is why people are joining, because this is not about Trump. And I've told people all the time, listen, I'm not just like a Trump. It's not like a Trump. I do like Trump. I think he's hilarious. I like him. I think that he's a generous guy. I think that he has a good heart. I think that he means really well. I think that he doesn't give a crap what everybody else thinks about him in the sense that it's going to change his behaviors. I think that he does care, though. He has a heart. He's not a hardened person. But at the end of the day, this is about the country. And if I were to see him betray his country, I would leave Trump's side like that. I wouldn't hesitate. If I saw Trump betray our country the way Joe Biden has, the way Kamala Harris has, it would take me an instant to abandon him and move on to somebody else, you know, to run for president. And I think that's one of the reasons that people liked JFK. And why do you think JFK is? We've said it on the show. JFK is far to the left. He's not a moderate person. Just because he makes sense about healthcare, just because he makes sense about the pharmaceutical industry, just because he makes sense about a lot of things that he says, he's very far to the left economically. I could never vote for him, but I could appreciate the fact that he's honest, right? Yeah. And it's the same thing with Trump. And at the end of the day, Trump loves his country, and it reminds me of what my dad said. My dad died a couple years ago, and I asked my dad, you know, you've never been involved in politics. You never cared about politics. Why do you care about Trump? What makes you like a fan of Trump? And he said, my kids are American, and I can tell that this guy loves this country. That was it. Simple reason, simple explanation on why he liked Trump, because he knew that our futures were in good hands, whether Trump was a racist, whether Trump was this, and of course he's not. Right? But it doesn't matter. All these things don't matter. And, you know, on this show, let's just declare racism is dead. That's a dead issue. That's not happening in this country. There's nobody going around. There's no real KKK people. There's none of that stuff. All those things are little fringe, tiny, stupid movements that might be happening with a group of a couple of people living in a basement somewhere. But that's not going on throughout our country. We don't have those issues. What we have is issues of opportunity where now corporatism has taken over the country, and an American people like myself, like you, like our families, like our friends, like our neighbors, they can't get ahead anymore. Yeah. And there's a reason for that. And those are policy reasons. And we're going to talk about it in the show, exactly why. They're going to address it in the show. We got clips that address exactly what the policy for Trump is going to make, why the policy for Trump is going to make everyday Americans better off than anybody else in my lifetime. I'm 49 years old. In my lifetime, this is the best opportunity that we have at the American Dream. We're going to explain shortly.
Absolutely, John. And you're right. You know, RFK Jr. is to the left, but on healthcare, about food and you know, the vaccines, he's right on point. And President Trump knows this. You know, Tulsi Gabbard isn't the most to the right person either.
Oh,
And
she's on the left. She's she's left of center for sure.
President Trump knows this, but still includes them because he wants to hear from
She's
everybody.
honest.
And she's honest, and that's what he wants.
She cares about her country. She cares about her country.
That love America, and that whole crowd at MSG was Americans that love America. But according to the media, John, especially MSNBC, this was equivalent to a 1939 Nazi rally, and directly compare Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. This is unbelievable. Watch this.
Yeah, it's just stupid.
But that jamboree happening right now, you see it there on your screen. In
Jamboree,
that place,
they call it, even
particularly
like Disney's Jamboree,
because
right?
in
A bunch of hillbillies,
more
a bunch
than
of hillbillies.
20,000 supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler, packed the garden for a so-called pro-America rally. A rally where speakers voiced anti-Semitic rhetoric from a stage draped with Nazi banners. When a Jewish protester rushed the stage, the Associated Press reported, quote, instantly, a dozen or more stormtroopers set upon him, knocking him down and beating him as he held his head in his arms. Most of his clothing was torn from his body. Later, he was booked for disorderly conduct. Now, against that backdrop of history, Donald Trump, the man who has threatened to use the military against opponents he calls enemies from within, who has threatened to use the troops to quell what he says are lawless cities, and to use those troops to carry out mass deportations of immigrants, is once again turning Madison Square Garden into a staging ground for extremism.
Ridiculous. What kind of guy do you have to go on TV and say, how much do you get paid to say that kind of bull crap? I mean, that's exactly what this is. That guy's getting paid to say nonsense. Nonsense. Just blatant lies. It's pure stupidity. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, this is why they're laughable. Everybody knows that's not true. I mean, how stupid do you think that Americans are that we're going to fall for that? You think that people are going to, I'm not going to vote for Trump because Nazism there was a Nazi rally at MSG in 1939? Give me a break. How stupid are you? Yeah. Your whole network should be ashamed. You might as well take it out. Listen, our kids can't read anymore. And our kids can't read anymore because of things like this. They're just, everybody gets away with trying to manipulate this giant gaslighting project that America has been under for the past 60 years. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's crazy. It's crazy that somebody would even consider making that equation seriously with a tie on, right? Like, if that makes you more credible, it's just such garbage.
Yeah, it is. And never mind the fact that, you know, President Clinton has had an event at MSG. There's been all kinds of events at MSG, but, you know, President Trump has a rally there, and we're going to equivalent it to a Nazi party rally. And they're not the only ones, though, John. You know, we did talk about, you know, at the beginning of the show, we did play that clip where Jon Stewart's talking about Tony Hinchcliffe's joke and the fact that he is a roast comedian. That's what he does. He roasts people. He's known as Kill Tony. AOC didn't get the joke either.
Right now, the campaign is scrambling, and they're trying to blame this rhetoric on a so-called comedian. This is not a comedian. This is the Trump campaign. They invited this rhetoric on their stage for a reason. It was a chorus of speakers on that campaign for a reason. It was vetted, and they knew exactly who was going to say what before they went on. And so the only backtracking that they're doing right now is just because tens of thousands of Puerto Ricans happen to live in Philadelphia, Florida, Michigan, Wisconsin, and also the several swing seats in the House of Representatives that run through the state of New York, and they're just realizing that they might have made a big error by saying out loud what they're thinking.
Listen, thank God that we got the.
Sorry, I had to let it play, John. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, thank God thank God we got a bartender's response. I don't know how we could do the show if we didn't have a bartender's reaction to a joke. Listen, this is, first of all, I watched the set and it was hilarious. It was hilarious. It's insult comedy. If you like insult comedy, this was hilarious. If you like Dave Chappelle, then the set was funny. Yeah. If you don't, right, and you want to clutch your pearls and have some faux outrage, or you want to take advantage of the political aspect of it, then, by all means, okay, pretend it wasn't funny, but it was funny. And he was talking, here's the funny thing, the true funny thing is that he was talking about a serious problem going on in Puerto Rico right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you take an intellectual piece of comedy, right, that is biting because it's a serious problem. It's like if you make fun of pollution, right? Or, that's what touches liberals' hearts. You talk about pollution, you make a joke about pollution, they're like, oh, there is pollution. Oh, and people start fainting and kicking their heels up. That's how dumb it looks. Yeah. This was a serious problem going on in Puerto Rico in multiple aspects. And in fact, the people in Osceola should be able to appreciate this joke because they had to take tons and tons and tons of dirty, toxic coal ash from Puerto Rico, and they brought it here to Osceola County.
Yes.
Right? So that's part of the issue. There's a trash problem going on in Puerto Rico. And for him to highlight it, the trash problem, the pollution problem, the garbage problem in Puerto Rico just got more notification by the entire world. Just got more awareness from the entire world. And every Puerto Rican should be thanking Tony because at least now everybody knows about this trash problem. Hopefully their own government, which is trash and garbage, their own government is trash and garbage. I'll say it again. Yes. Maybe they'll resolve the problem now that it's been highlighted at a Trump event, right? Yeah. So without even getting involved, just Trump's name resolves problems in Puerto Rico, which is more than they've ever gotten from their own politicians.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it if you would do a little bit of research instead of just listening to the mainstream media. And this goes out to a few of our Republican friends too, John, who have jumped on the bandwagon and said, this was terrible what he said. This was terrible what he did. If you've done just a little bit of research, you'd know that there is a landfill problem in Puerto Rico. There is a definite issue with waste in Puerto Rico. And, Randy Jensen, the president and CEO of EC Waste, says there is an absolute landfill crisis in Puerto Rico, but it's not airspace. It is that we still allow 22 unlined dumps to accept waste. While we do have regulations, enforcement on the island is not consistent. I believe more consistent enforcement needs to occur across all waste receiving sites. So, yes, this is a true issue in Puerto Rico, John. But no one bothers to look for these things. They don't bother to look them
And he
up.
highlighted it. He should get like the Puerto Rican of Honor Award.
Yeah.
For mentioning it in front of those, and if you were a Puerto Rican and you care about your island, then man, Trump is even addressing garbage problems in Puerto Rico without even being president. So, just send your thank you cards to his office with a $5 contribution.
And John, it's funny because I don't see any Puerto Ricans up in arms here in Florida or anywhere in the United States. Matter of fact, on the island of Puerto Rico, just yesterday, this happened. They threw a parade for President Trump.
Puerto Rico for Trump, for Make America Great Again.
Man, that looks like the traffic that Brandon Arrington caused.
Puerto Rico for Trump. Y nuestro próximo y seguro senador, Nelson Albino. This is the Make America Great Again. Arriba esa bandera trompista.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they've discouraged Puerto Ricans from voting for Trump, number one.
No.
And it's too bad because I don't think that they can vote for president on the island.
No, they can't.
They have to be here in order to vote for president. So,
but they knew that President Trump was under attack, and they wanted to show support that, hey, we're not mad at you, President Trump.
Yep, that's right. Who they support, the island supports them. And also so does their honorary Senate candidate, their senator from Puerto Rico also endorsed Trump. So listen, this is silly. I have not seen any Puerto Ricans on the ground actually have any negative reaction to this.
No.
I have seen some self-important, self-righteous people who jumped on the bandwagon to say, "Oh, we don't like this," and whatever.
Yeah.
Listen, as a Hispanic person, I'll never be so sensitive that I can't hear an argument before I have to react like impulsively, to just like, "Oh, are you talking about Hispanics? And you didn't roll out a red carpet to invite me to offer my opinion before you say whatever you have to say?" No, that's stupid. I mean, we're allowed to have these conversations, and the moment that we weren't allowed to have these conversations is when the race problems started happening again in the United States.
Yeah.
So
John,
we're allowed to have these conversations. And, if we can talk about how ridiculously dirty one state is in continental United States, why wouldn't we be able to talk about Puerto Rico?
Yeah.
If we can talk about what Alaska's like, we can't talk about Puerto Rico though. We can't talk about Hawaii. I mean, give me a break. If you're American, then we can talk about you. And it doesn't matter how you feel about it. That's the whole point of being in America. We can speak. There's nothing off limits here. And if you want to clutch your pearls, that's fine. But, don't expect anybody to react to it.
Yeah, I don't know, John. Somewhere between now and 30 years ago, the majority of America lost their sense of humor. I don't know what happened to it. It went away. Now everybody just gets so easily offended by any little thing. It's so sad. Yeah. It's so sad.
Because now you used to make fun of like men wearing dresses, and now you can't because men are actually wearing dresses.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole white dudes from Harris movement comes from.
Well, John, President Trump is having a little fun with this, and here he is.
We're going to make a speech. We're going to then try and beat the weather out because we have some bad weather coming in. But I just wanted to let you know that 250 million people, that's what I think the real number is for making America great again. 250 million, the real number. They don't think in terms of garbage, okay? They don't use terms like that. And it's a shame. And Joe Biden should be ashamed of himself if he knows what he's even doing. And she should be ashamed because she shouldn't let him do it. She's the vice president, but I assume she's acting as the president. She should never have let that happen. I hope you enjoyed this garbage truck. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press.
I mean,
I hope you enjoy this garbage truck. That's so great.
Listen, it's home run after home run after home run after home run. We were saying that in the show prep with their ads, right? It's just like, it's not single, double, home run, single, home run. No, it's like home run, home run, home run, home run, home run, home run. The campaign is hitting on all 12 cylinders right now. And I mean, Harris looks like a 3-cylinder tractor just, stuck in the mud. It's these two people are in different weight classes completely.
Yeah. It's something else. And President Trump is great. I mean, he just makes a joke out of it. He takes
advantage of everything.
Truck. I mean,
in a positive way. So look at this. You have them who talked about Puerto Rico being garbage, right? And look how they take it. Oh, you should be outraged. Go grab a pitchfork and torches and go break windows at the storefront and go loot and rob and pillage. And Trump is like, oh, no, I'm going to rent a garbage truck. And I'm just going to be like, I'll be a garbage man. That's fine. Whatever you guys are, that's what I am. I'm not too good to be one of you. Whatever you guys are, I am too. If you're a deplorable, I'm a deplorable. If you're trash, then I'm trash. Because I am here to represent the American people. That's why he's winning. That's why he's winning. She's not. She's doing the opposite. She's like, you should be. And what is Obama saying? You should be. And then Obama's husband, Michael, comes on. You should be. It's always like a lecture of what you should be. And they're great. And you should be great like them. If you weren't such trash, maybe you would be as good as the Obamas are. No. And everybody's like, screw you. I mean, give me a break. Take your gay marriage and go away. Nobody's interested.
I was glad that President Trump did address the fact that Joe Biden called MAGA supporters garbage. Because Tony Hinchcliffe
and in a great way. And then he said, forgive him.
He didn't call the Puerto Rican people garbage. He said, the island of garbage, Puerto Rico.
Yep.
So, but President Biden did call all of us garbage. So I'm glad he addressed that. But
Well, you know why we're not shocked?
No.
Because they've been calling us garbage. Of course they think that we're garbage.
Yeah.
They think that we're trash. They still think in through a class lens, right? Where they're the elitist liberals and we're just trash here, right? We want to have our own rights and gun rights and thump our Bibles and so on and whatever. We're just trash and they're great. They're elitist. They're educated. They're whatever they think that they are. They're better than we are.
Deplorables,
and Trump,
insurrectionists, and then now we're garbage.
yeah, down to garbage. I mean, it can't. We get it. We understand. You don't have to keep repeating yourself. We know what you think of us.
No. Well, we wanted to contrast President Trump's huge Madison Square Garden rally to this huge rally that Kamala Harris was supposed to have over in Houston, Texas, where she advertised Beyonce was going to be there. And this turned into a complete disaster because the attendees were mad that Beyonce didn't perform at this rally. Now, this video is a little bit hard to watch, but it's going to illustrate to you a couple of weird things that happened at this rally. And we're going to talk about those as this video goes on. Here it is. Somebody went down.
Ill and dying.
So listen, hold on, pause it for a second. Look at the irony here.
These are the abortion doctors, by the way, that are on the stage.
This is the worthlessness. Yeah, exactly. This is the worthless. That's disgusting. This is the worthlessness of the Democrat Party. There's someone having a medical emergency. You have a stage full of doctors, and look at how feckless these guys are. They're as feckless as Harris is. She went around, she found the most idiotic doctors to come and represent her idiotic vice presidency, and look at their reaction to this.
Yeah.
Nationwide, I think someone needs some medical assistance over here.
None of them are running off the stage, John.
Didn't you already use that joke? Didn't you already use that joke? What's the point of saying that joke?
Is that transsexual?
It looks like it.
All right, this video has been circulating on X and multiple media platforms.
Like crazy.
This happened at this rally.
Crazy.
Wow.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that?
That crazy liberal yelling in that baby's face like that.
That's absolutely nuts. Even the Harris supporter, the black lady there has to be like, "Hey, what is wrong with you?
Yeah,
that's a baby." You can see it read her lips. She's saying, "Hey, that's a baby. What's wrong with you?"
At least one person at that rally had some sense, John.
Yeah, that woman had some sense. Thank God. I'm glad that she was there to prevent something. I mean, and I don't know who the guy was. I don't know why he's getting yelled at, why his baby's getting yelled at. but I'm surprised that he didn't have a stronger protective reaction to that. No. You know, obviously this girl didn't necessarily present a danger, that she didn't look like she was a real threat. But at the same time, listen, as a guy who has seen things that did not look threatening become threats and take the lives of people in Afghanistan, I never take chances with my kids. If somebody were to come after my kid and get in their face, violence would happen. And then at least I would know, okay, it might have been my mistake, but my mistake wasn't going to lead to my kids being hurt. So I'm just shocked at how this, guy let somebody scream in their child's face like that. I would have been terrified to have that
absolutely.
kind of patient.
Why would you let somebody yell in your kid's face?
I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have. At that point, I remove any type of bias that I might have to behave in a certain way, because my number one priority is to protect my child.
Absolutely.
So the minute I see somebody getting in the face of my child like that, my defenseless baby, then I become absolutely I just go to 10. Because who's going to, she could be a crazy, we see people in China getting stabbed all the time. Right. And you never expect that somebody can stab a baby, but people in China are constantly going into preschools and killing babies. I just wouldn't, I don't know. I've seen too much to ever allow somebody to get into my kid's face that close to my child.
It's crazy. It's crazy, man.
But it is.
As you can see.
But it's normal at a Harris campaign.
Yeah.
At a Harris rally. It's normal there.
Obviously, many people were upset that Beyonce did not perform. I guess that was an expectation for many of these rally goers, was that she was going to perform. I don't know why anybody would want to see Beyonce perform anymore. I don't know. Was she popular 30 years ago? Who cares anymore? But anyway.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So. I think that the next time people are going to be interested in seeing her perform is going to be in a Diddy video, undercover video.
Yeah, I think that's coming, John. That could be on the way.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure all those videos are going to come out at some point.
So one thing that also came out of the podcast with Joe Rogan, John, and this is just separate, but RFK Jr. detailed how Donald Trump is breaking tradition by privately funding his transition team and has already started it 3 months early. Listen to this, John.
This is so awesome.
I've talked to Donald Trump specifically about this, and he said to me, I said, look, the last time you were in there, you put John Bolton in charge of NSA and Mike Pompeo in charge of the CIA and the State Department, and you put an oil guy, in charge of Department of Interior, a coal guy in charge of EPA, and a telecom lobbyist in charge of FCC, and pharma lobbyist as head of HHS and FDA, Scott Gottlieb. And he said, here's the difference. He said, when I got in last time, I had no idea how to govern, and I got surrounded by donors and corporate people who said, you appoint this guy and appoint that guy. And he said, I appointed a lot of bad people. Now, I was listening this morning to this extraordinary interview that Donald Trump did with Joe Rogan yesterday. And he said during that interview, he talked specifically about John Bolton. He said, a donor got me to appoint him. And he said, he's a great guy. He turned out, and this is what he said. He said, he's a really bad guy. And he said, this time I'm not going to do that. He told us that. And what he did, he didn't just promise that, but he did something no other president's done before. Normally, the transition team is not created until November 6th because GAO, the General Accounting Order Office, pays for all the costs of the transition team. Trump said, I'm not going to do it this time. I'm not going to do it their way. I'm going to start my own transition team 3 months early. And he got private donors. He got private donors to fund it. And he's appointed 20 people, including me in Tulsi. And there's people of all different kinds of ideology and people we're going to have to go up against on that transition team and fight for our vision. But I can tell you this, which is unique, there are no corporate lobbyists on that campaign, on that transition team. Usually it's 100% corporate lobbyists. So it's very, very different, and it gives me lots of hope that this government is going to be different than any government we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, just
Clear as
imagine.
day.
Just imagine. It's just so amazing, John. So amazing.
I mean, how much better would our school districts across the country be if we didn't have lobbyists running them?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. They buy these seats. All these seats are bought and sold. You know, every seat on the Osceola County School District is bought by lobbyists, right? A lobbyist sat their butts in that seat. I mean, and why? Because they get huge amounts of money. We're talking about, that's local. So now you go out, you expand out to the federal government where you're talking about trillions of dollars. And of course, these are powerful people. This is why Americans are now like becoming part of this movement. They may not want to celebrate MAGA. They may have questions about immigration. They may have questions about this or whatever. But at the end of the day, our country is better led by people who are not paid for special interests to the tune of millions of dollars, right? This is an incredible movement. It's back to, like a Jeffersonian view of government. And I am a huge Jeffersonian. So to me, this is the right way to go. And this is great for our country. This is great for an average American and myself, you, our families, our neighbors. This is great news. That's life altering. That's future altering. Now we've gone down a completely different path if Donald Trump wins. A cabinet, leadership, a bureaucratic government without lobbyists running the show. I mean, come on, it makes sense, right? But
yeah, it's just amazing, John. You think about it. This transition team has 3 former Democrats sitting up front and center. And if you really think about it, almost everyone that's on the transition team at one point was a Democrat. But they're all America first. They all care about America. They care about health. They're honest people. It couldn't get any better than this. So if you thought the first 4 years of Trump was great, just imagine what the next 4 years of Trump is going to be, especially the way that he's setting it up right now, how much he learned from his first run, and how much he's going to change and do differently on that second run and really bring home everything that he promised.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and for your family, for people who have families, right? If you're a cat lady, right? If you're a cat lady from hell, like Nikki Fried, then okay, none of this stuff is important to you. But if you're a parent and you have children and you care about the future of this country, you care about being able to raise your kids with some values and morals, then I mean, this is huge. This is huge. This is a country where your kid can actually grow up, secure an education, secure a job, have a home, live a life where they can have their own children, your grandchildren, and raise them, with their own beliefs without having a government breathing down their necks, without having lobbyists decide what kind of car they're going to buy, or without having a lobbyist decide what kind of health care they're going to receive. That's huge. It changes the entire path of our country for the better.
Yeah. That's the truth. All right, John. So before we go across the nation, we have this important message from President Trump.
My name is Jerry Wartsky. I'm 94 years old and survivor of Auschwitz and the Death Marches. Adolf Hitler invaded Poland when I was 9 years old. He murdered my parents and most of our family. I know more about Hitler than Kamala will ever know in 1,000 lifetimes. For her to accuse President Trump of being like Hitler is the worst thing I've ever heard in my 75 years living in the United States. I know President Trump, and he would never say this, and Kamala Harris knows this. She owes my parents and everybody else who was murdered by Hitler an apology for repeating this lie.
Why should the Jewish people support President Trump?
Because he's a mensch. I believe that President Trump is definitely going to be good for Israel, because in everything that he's done up to now was in favor. He never double-crossed anyone. and he never showed any weakness. Watching President Trump pray for the hostages at the Ohel and spend time with him so meaningful. He has always stood with the Jewish people and the state of Israel.
All right, John, before we go and start with the first story, I just wanted to say God bless that man. You know, he truly survived some true horrors. And, you know, one of the things he said that President Trump was a mensch. Now, if you don't know what a mensch is, okay, a mensch is a person of integrity and honor. And I think President Trump getting called that by this individual is probably
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Right? That's pretty awesome.
All right, John. So first up, I don't know if many people are aware of this, but a new movie debuted this past Monday. It is called Thank You, Dr. Fauci. And here is the trailer for Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Yep. Well, looks good. Definitely going to check that out. Some interesting...
He's the true plague.
Yeah.
He's the true plague that we had around this world. The guy, not only was he the plague, like the germ that was on top of the rat, but he's also the carrier. He is the rat. Yeah. He's the rat and the germ. And I can't wait for him to be brought to justice. He should absolutely. If every country in the world has an interest in seeing Fauci go to jail, every country in the world has an interest, should have an interest. Yeah. Every human has an interest in Fauci seeing justice.
I hope so, John. I hope so, because and I'm glad that this movie's coming out, because you should never forget what this man brought upon this nation. Never. And
on lies.
Yep. And I'm glad that people are keeping his name out there, reminding people of what he did, including RFK Jr., who came out and then let this one out in 2014. 300 scientists warned Anthony Fauci would start a global pandemic. Following the high-profile escape of 3 bugs from U.S. labs, these 300 scientists sent a letter to President Obama urging him to shut down Anthony Fauci's gain-of-function research. Here, watch this.
We're going to take a wild virus and we're going to make it more pathogenic, more virulent, more deadly, and then we're going to develop a vaccine for that. And that's classic gain-of-function research. Why are they doing that? You know, why? What is the rationale for them doing that? The only real rationale, if you think about it, is to develop bioweapons and then develop a defense to those bioweapons. So that's what they were doing. And Anthony Fauci was given a 68% raise by the military because of these new military responsibilities. He continued to do that to 2014. And that year, 3 of the bugs escaped. In high-profile escapes from 3 different labs in the United States, really deadly bugs escaped or were found in unsafe circumstances. And 300 scientists sent a letter to President Obama asking him to shut down Anthony Fauci's research on gain-of-function, saying that it was highly likely that he would start a global pandemic with this kind of very dangerous research. And President Obama issued a moratorium and shut down 18 of the worst projects by Anthony Fauci, or ordered them shut. In the end, he really didn't shut them. He instead moved the research offshore, where he would be out of the oversight of these troublesome scientists, the 300 scientists, a group that called itself the Cambridge Working Group, and of White House officials. And the major lab offshore that they moved this research, there were other ones too. They moved research to Ukraine, to the former Soviet state of Georgia. But some of the worst research they moved to a Chinese lab that was run by the Chinese military, the Wuhan lab in Wuhan, the Wuhan Institute virology in Wuhan, China.
Wow.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Nuts. That guy should be. Now, here's the thing. Here's the real crime is that you sent something as important as gain of function research to China, to our enemies. I mean, what kind of idiot would send the technology that is the most harmful, the ugliest, and you're going to send it to China where they're going to retain that knowledge and use it against us? I mean, he should be. That's just crazy. That's just crazy. And to the Ukraine, one of the most corrupt countries in the world. I mean, why didn't they just send it to Nicaragua? You know, I mean, why didn't they just send it to some S-hole country in Africa? You know, I mean, you might as well have. It's just a secure. And in fact, China leaked it. China leaked it. We all paid for it. We all prayed for it. We know that the disease, that the illness came from Wuhan. Now we had it. We dealt with it. You know, I mean, so I can't wait to see Fauci behind jail. I can't wait to go visit him in jail and give him a piece of my mind.
Yeah, I mean, definitely he deserves to be behind bars, John. And, you know, it's just funny. You find out something new about Ukraine every day. And it just goes to show why Democrats want to protect Ukraine so badly. You know, how many secrets is Ukraine holding for the Democrats and particularly the Bidens and the Faucis of the world? But anyway, this next story, John, I don't even know what to do with this. I don't know what to do with this. I am enraged by this. I am angered by this. ABC station airs graphics saying Kamala Harris has won Pennsylvania. Now,
listen, read that again. Read that again. Read this. Leave it up there for a minute. This happened. We're 9 days ahead of the election. This happened. Read that carefully. ABC station airs graphics saying Kamala Harris has won Pennsylvania. Is that not the scariest thing in the world?
it is.
I mean, not.
It's just it's maddening, John. Because it makes you think the fix is in.
Yep.
You know, look at this. This is the actual video. You can see it at the bottom of the screen. It was during the Grand Prix races. Here's a screenshot of it. Right at the bottom of the screen, this cryon, it says Harris, 52% of the vote. Trump, 47% of the vote. This ABC station in Pennsylvania aired this graphic saying Kamala Harris won, yes, 9 days before voting is done. During a Sunday evening broadcast of Formula One's Mexican Grand Prix, Scranton affiliate WNNP aired a bottom-of-screen cryon showing remarkably precise results, which the station said was a mistake. You think? According to the cryon, 100% of the votes had been counted, and Ms. Harris defeated former President Donald Trump by a 52% to 47% margin, getting 3,293,712 votes to Mr. Trump's 2,997,793 votes. The station said it was a technical mistake. Those numbers should not have appeared on the screen, and it was an error by WNNP that they did. The station said in its own article on the mistaken Chiron.
Chiron.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know.
So, I mean, I agree. I think this is outrageous, right? And you got to wonder, why did that happen? Why they need a deeper explanation that it's a mistake. We know it's a mistake.
How did they have those numbers?
We know it's a mistake. Yeah, why do you have it? We want to know exactly. Why do you have that already pre-made? Where did the instructions come to make that graphic? And why are they already in the hopper like that? That's what we want to know. We don't want to know that it was a mistake. We know it was a mistake. That's clear. And I hope that the general manager and everybody loses their job. And they should lose their job because that we know now that they're at risk of participating in a scam regarding the elections. It's outrageous.
I hope that there is a serious investigation into this because I think all of us are very worried about this election. You know, we've been highlighting on several of the last America shows the holes that we have in our election process. the things that are happening across the nation that make you question the results of any election, really, any election. And even elections that we ourselves have been a part in, we have questions about. I just hope that somebody really looks into this. I hope this story doesn't just disappear, because something is very odd here. Something's very wrong.
Absolutely.
All right, so if you didn't need any reason not to vote for Kamala Harris, you can look at Kamala Harris herself. You can look at her running mate, Tim Walz.
If she hasn't convinced you to not vote for her yet.
Yeah, but, you know, look no further than Tim Walz's wife, because really this should scare you.
What a nut job.
Tampon
She's almost
Tim's
as
wife
bad as her husband.
says putting tampons in boys' school bathrooms helps kids learn to read. Look at this woman, watch her face, and definitely look at her eyes while she's talking.
You know, if kids are hungry in school, what that does to brain and learning, you're not going to learn to read. So if you're talking about learning to read and closing gaps, then you better take away the barriers for that. If that's tampons, then that's tampons.
This woman is psycho.
Did you learn how to read with tampons? Did you, Tom?
No.
I mean, I don't remember a tampon being anywhere in a reading room when I was learning to read in the 3rd grade. So, you know, here, this is a woman. Supposedly, this is an education family, right? But apparently, they don't know. They don't know at what point kids learn to read, and they don't know that boys can't menstruate. Are these the people that we want teaching? I mean, these are the people that would vote for Harris.
These are exactly the examples of why the public school system is failing right now. Exactly.
I mean, there's no. This is crazy. This is crazy, pure crazy. The Democrat Party equals mental illness. I mean, that's what it comes down to. All the people, a lot of the people that comment, you know, a lot of the people that are always fighting with me online and want to have these debates. I'm happy to have them, right? I'm happy to have them, but at the same time, there's mental illness at stake. And sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm going to argue with this person. That's fine. I'll give them the time of day. We're going to chat. Let's see what they have to offer. Boom, boom, boom. But then very quickly I realized, okay, this person has mental illness. So it's not fun to jostle around politics with somebody who's it's blatant mental illness, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I've had those, especially around the abortion information, women who have scarred themselves with abortion and men who have scarred themselves participating in abortion, they, you know, you can see that anchors around their neck, that millstone's hanging from their neck. And when they bring that, when that's what it is, then, you know, all you can do is pray for them. And that's the same with this person. She has lost touch with reality. Her husband has lost touch with reality. They're a pair of fakes. And I mean, at this stage, you can pray for them, but don't allow them to run our country.
No, not at all. I mean, just look at her eyes. Just look at her eyes. Look at her talk. It's like
I've seen those eyes on a school board dais.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen eyes like that sitting next to me. You know, I mean, like there's multiple pairs of eyes that sit on a school board dais. Behind the dais with those eyes. I mean, it's
mental illness
terrifying.
is truly running wild in our country.
Yes,
it really is. And
mental
we
illness,
see it
exactly.
all the time.
And they're all medicated.
Yeah.
You know, you shouldn't. I don't think that you should be allowed to hold public office if you got some kind of medication for mental illness.
No.
And I guarantee you, if you did that, you would empty out government offices.
Well, John, you know, I was talking about how we highlighted all the holes in our elections on the last few America shows, and we're going to continue on that trend tonight. Over in Georgia, the Democrats are suing to prevent Dropbox surveillance, if you can believe this. Watch this, John.
I believe it.
Today in Georgia, a judge ruled that election officials have to certify results, even if voter fraud is suspected. And around the state, Democrats are suing to prevent Dropbox surveillance, hand counting ballots, and voter ID protections. Why are Democrats trying to make elections less secure? Especially while many states across the country are finding thousands of people who aren't citizens on the voter rolls, like in Virginia, where Governor Youngkin removed more than 6,000 non-citizens from the rolls. The Biden-Harris administration didn't like that. The Justice Department is now suing Virginia for cleaning up the voter rolls. something Virginia governors have been doing for years.
Why is it that anyone could argue that a process that removes non-citizens off of our voter rolls is anything else other than common sense and constitutional? This is a law that's been on our books since 2006. It was a law that was signed by then Democrat Governor Tim Kaine. This is why I find this to be a very, very unreal moment that is stunning, that they filed this suit 25 days before a presidential election, when in fact this has been going on in accordance with our Constitution, the federal Constitution, and state law since 2006.
It's simple. We just want free and fair elections. Democrats are trying to loosen the rules and get Republicans today.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. I mean, who would ever sue for it? They're doing it in public. They're doing it in public. How do you do that in public? I mean, how do you sue the government from doing the right thing? It's like if you know that people are dying and they need a treatment, the government decides we're going to give them this treatment, then you sue them to prevent the treatment. And things like that have happened before in this government. Why? We discussed it earlier. Because at the end of the day, the people that are controlling this government are people with special interests at stake. Okay, lobbyists. That's why things like this, bad things like this happen, and that's the reason why. At the end of the day, we have to protect this country. That's what we're fighting over. It's crazy. This is crazy, 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 crazy. I can't get over it. They're doing that's out in public. That's on the public record. You have Democrats suing the government for correcting the voter rolls. Why would they do that if they're not going to cheat?
Unbelievable. Well, over in Oregon, John, ballot drop boxes set on fire in Portland and Vancouver, Washington. Look at this. You can hear the crackling embers of the votes being burned up.
That's not us. That's the fire.
Yeah. This is why these official ballot drop boxes are a bad idea.
They are.
This right here.
Now, all those people, look, there's a lot, right? You know, when paper burns, it all compacts, right? And they're taking apart. That's a pile of ashes. How much paper does it take to make a pile of ashes a foot tall? There's thousands of ballots there, and they're lost. How do you go back? How do you go back? How do you fix how do you fix that vote? So they need to immediately go and catch the person that set that on fire, and that person needs to go to jail. And this is what they want to happen across the country because they can't depend on their votes anymore. Yeah. So they need to go and set all these ballots on fire. That's why they don't want them watched.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Well, over in Philadelphia, John, in Lancaster County, they're launching an investigation after election officials say they found 2,500 fraudulent voter registration forms.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Ray D'Agostino. I am the Vice Chairman of the Lancaster County Board of Commissioners and also the Chairman of the Lancaster County Board of Elections. As we, the Board of County Commissioners and the Board of Elections, have said throughout this entire election cycle and years prior, Lancaster County runs each election with the principles of integrity, veracity, and transparency. It is our duty as elected leaders of this county conduct elections that the voters can feel confident in. We take that role seriously, and so do the hardworking staff in the elections office and our volunteers. Through training and expertise, it is their work and the work of hundreds of volunteers that allows us to conduct elections that are safe, secure, and allow every eligible voter to legally cast their ballot.
All right, enough of that, you know what I mean? Because we're seeing a lot of problems coming out of Pennsylvania right now, a lot of problems.
That's the second county to have the issue. That's the second county in Pennsylvania to have to announce that they have fraudulent registrations.
Yeah, and you just keep hearing them say, "Oh well, we believe in election integrity." We don't want to have these issues. We're not having, they keep trying to pat themselves on the back about what a great job they're doing. And yet we keep coming across these stories coming out of Philadelphia, like this one here, John. No. Well, like the one we just talked about before, where we have the ABC news station putting up that Kamala Harris won the election, and it's 9 days out before the election. This is out of Philadelphia. So,
yeah, it's a shame. And the other one that we saw in Pennsylvania was, I think there was the attorney general, either the state attorney or the attorney general of Pennsylvania, who was announcing that they had an issue, and I think one was a clerk of court.
Yeah.
So they're acknowledging, because they know that they're going to get caught this time. Everybody's watching, and the country will. This is gonna be really bad if we can't trust it. And the Democrats are so desperate that they're not willing to lose. They have to steal it or win. There's no option. There's no third option. There's no just walk away from this. And they talk about being fascists and dictators and all these tyrannical descriptions of Trump, and they're doing it right now in front of us. We're watching them do it. We're watching them weaponize the government. That was the first act of tyranny. That was the first act of tyranny in Venezuela before Hugo Chavez took it over. All right, the very first act of tyranny was to weaponize the government. That's the first thing that he did.
Well, let's end the show on a positive note coming out of Philadelphia, because there is one positive coming out of Philadelphia right now.
Cool.
And that is the firefighters union. Philly Firefighters Union ditch incumbent Democrat Senator Bob Casey and endorse Republican Dave McCormick. And yes, this will help flip the Senate. Here is the story.
Well, sirens are sounding for Pennsylvania Senator Bob Casey's campaign after the firefighters union in Philadelphia ditched the incumbent and endorsed Republican Dave McCormick instead. Philadelphia firefighter and paramedics union president Mike Bresnan joins us now. Mike, you're a lifelong firefighter. You've been in this business for a really long time. It's rare that unions like yours endorse Republicans or endorse against an incumbent. Why in this race did you think Dave McCormick is the right pick?
Well, Pete, the process is the candidates had an opportunity to come into the executive board, and we tell them our issues, and both candidates did. And we have to tell you that Dave McCormick was very impressive. He looked us in the eye. He told us he'd support our issues. Went into detail about our issues, and this Senator Casey, this was actually the first time that we met Senator Casey in all these years.
Wow.
What does that tell you?
Wow.
I mean, they just took it for granted, right? We took it for, just like locally, right? We take for granted that one of those dirty lobbyists, the guy who supported the illegal sex trade, that he controls the unions here. And they just take it for granted. And we realize, people are waking up. The unions don't want that. The union members are now rebelling against some of their leadership and saying, we want something new. So,
well, it's kind of like was said on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he said this during the Trump interview. Matter of fact, he said that nowadays, the working class party is the Republican Party. The rebels are the Republicans, where it used to be the Democrats, and now the Democrats are all about authoritarian dictatorship type government, whereas the Republicans are not. And I think people are slowly waking up to that fact, and I think we see it every day. So
yeah, it's crazy, absolutely crazy.
All right, well,
is it finally time for this to end?
Yes, and here's the reason why.
All right, that's it, John.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for watching another episode of Unsanctioned America. Please like and share the show. If you received an invite, go into your social medias, check for invites, go down, find Unsanctioned, find me, find Tom, and make sure that you accept or that you follow and like the page. It doesn't matter whether you're on Twitch or Rumble or YouTube or Facebook or DLive or whatever it is. Like and share and follow. We appreciate it. The viewership has been growing recently again. We're happy to finally be unshadow banned, it looks like, maybe.
Yes.
And we're very happy to do the show for you. So thank you. Follow, like, share.
Listen
God
to
bless
us in
you.
your car, on Spotify, on
Yep,
Apple
that's right.
Podcasts. Listen to us in your car on iHeartRadio. You can listen to the show. You don't have to watch us. If you don't like looking at our beautiful faces, you can just listen to us now on a podcast format. And it's great. It's great.
Or just put your hand over Tom's head.
This is the last show before the election. So the next show, America show, will be post-election. Make sure you get out there. Make sure you vote. Make sure you vote for President Trump. We need him. We need him bad.
Listen, let's do a couple of these really quickly. Make sure that you vote for Jim Trout's here in Osceola County. If you live in Osceola County, make sure you vote for Jim Trout's.
Absolutely.
Make sure that if you live in the city of Kissimmee, make sure that you vote for Nicole Arguello, Wagner de Arguello. Make sure that you vote for her. Who else? Anybody else, Tom, that we need a specific shout out for specifically? I think those are the two big ones.
Those are the two big ones. And, look at your ticket. Look at, especially locally, look at the candidates. Look at their campaign finance reports. Look at who they associate with, and go from there. But definitely locally, the big one is Jim Trotz. We need him. We need election integrity here in Osceola County. We need the Arringtons to be defeated all around. So, no more Arringtons.
So don't vote for incumbents. If you can avoid voting for an incumbent, that's great. Make sure you do vote for. If Justice Sasso is on your ballot, make sure you do vote for her. She's a great, great judge, one of the best that we have. She's a good one to vote for. For the amendments, I'll say this: a lot of people have been calling me. I think I've been counting, and I had somewhere between almost 240 people request information regarding their ballot, request basically my guidance on voting. And so those 240 people, I've told them all the same thing. Here's one thing, the amendment one thing, the first thing on the amendments, the school board partisanship, right? I'm voting yes, and here's why. In Osceola County, it may not be a great outcome for us here in Osceola County, but statewide, it is a positive, so I would vote for that. If anything should be nonpartisan, it should be the constitutional officers of the county. That should be nonpartisan.
Absolutely.
And absolutely. Amendment 3, vote no. Vote no. I'm a big no on that. Listen, if you want to see a whole bunch of kids smoking weed at an earlier age because it's easier, more accessible, and it's non-criminal, and the stigma will be gone of it, then I mean, that's what we're looking for. It's just like gambling. It's a vice. Don't promote vice. Amendment.
Absolutely. You go out to Las Vegas and you smell weed everywhere you walk. It's terrible.
Listen, I ride a motorcycle, and I smell weed out of everybody's
window.
window.
You pay the $200 to the doctor and get your medical card,
Yeah, exactly. And you too. You ride a motorcycle too, right? And when you're riding a motorcycle, you smell weed all over the road. And right now, you're not even supposed to. So once they make it, I mean, come on, this is going to be a madhouse. Do not do it. Do not do it. Don't vote yes on 3. Also, vote no on 4. This is barbarism. Okay, we will be the last country. I mean, it's a shame that we're going to be a country that is promoting this. This is not. There are exceptions. Number one, let's talk about some lies. The Democrats have been lying and saying that there are no exceptions under the Florida laws. There are exceptions under the Florida laws. The ones that everybody likes are there. Number 2, if you vote, this is going to remove parental consent. Kids having abortions without telling their parents.
You have a school counselor that can sign off on this.
A school counselor will be able to sign off on this. Your manicurist, your massage therapist is going to be able to sign off on an abortion. This is pure mayhem. Do not sign for it. We can force our legislators to adjust the abortion laws however you like. But as a citizen, you have a right to do it. You don't want to put it in the Constitution, in the state constitution, where there cannot be any law that prevents an abortion at 30-something weeks. That's not what we want. So vote no on 4. I can't say it's probably the worst, ugliest amendment that we've ever seen on the ballot. And if you vote yes, you're basically voting to terrorize life in Florida.
There is a lot of out-of-state special interest money being pumped into that 4 campaign. And 3,
marijuana, basically
yep.
Marijuana lobbyists.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. So no on those 2, okay? Also, vote no on the tax. They want to do the green tax. They're saying that, we're gonna put beautiful trees everywhere. No, this is for Brandon Arrington to go campaign by giving away free trees again. That's what your tax is going to go towards. It's not going to go towards anything real or substantial. Vote no on that tax. It pisses me off that they would even think about putting it on there. They're a bunch of liars. If you can't trust them with the roads, you can't trust them with the schools, there's nothing that you can trust them with, right? Then why are you going to give them more money? Don't do it, Osceola County.
Don't do it.
Well, that's all I got.
We will be doing one Florida show before the election. It'll probably go out either Friday or Saturday, I believe. Me and John will discuss when we can get that Florida show done. But it is just about ready, and it's going to be a very packed Florida show. So definitely stay tuned for that.
Yeah, well, I'm losing my voice. That's a good sign that it's time to end the show anyways. Thank you. God bless you. We love you. Like and share the show. We'll see you after the election. Get out there and vote. Pray before you vote, and then go vote.
Absolutely. Go vote, and let's make America great again.
When I first came into office, I cut taxes more than any other president. We have created 7 million new jobs, and it led to a growth like we've never seen before. We developed the greatest economy in history by far. When I left office, it changed. Inflation destroyed the lives of so many people. Interest rates went from 2% to 10%. Millions of illegal immigrants, traffickers, and drugs coming into our country. Our country has gone to hell. So I made a decision to run. We're going to make America great again, greater than ever before. I will fight for you with every breath, and I will never let you down. I'm gonna fight like a G, they all go see, and if I die, I'm gonna die free.
President Trump is literally putting his life on the line, and he's willing to risk it all because he loves this country.
He is strong, he is fearless, and he is what this country needs right now.
Our cities will be safe, our streets will be clean, and our border will be secure.
We can't allow our country to be destroyed by politicians who will put their own power ahead of the interests of the American people, our freedom, and our future.
The left told me to hate Trump. When you cut through the lies, you realize the truth. American families were better when Donald Trump was president. We were safer, wealthier, and stronger.
So if you love this country, if you want to stand up and fight for the future of our nation, you must re-elect Donald J. Trump.